Why are people so upset about the Trump administration not releasing the Epstein files? It's not about children because nobody really cares about the children being killed in Gaza or all the children we've killed in all the wars. Millions of people we've killed in wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria. It's not about the children. Um, I think it's something more than that. What I think is that people saw Trump as the outsider they could trust. I mean, the deep state tried to get rid of him, didn't they, for years with the Russiagate scandal and all the charges and the impeachment. So it made us think that he must be one of us. That's why they want to get rid of him. And he has a very folksy way of talking. And he kept promising, I'm going to release these files and release those files. So he felt like he was on our side. And he allied himself before the election with people that did have our trust. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, Bobby Kennedy. These were people that genuinely believed in change and honesty and truth and transparency. So we thought he must be one of us. We could trust this guy. And also, the things he was promising weren't things that obviously it would be hard to fulfill, like when Bush said no new taxes. Those are things where we're like, that's going to need a lot of congressional approval and budgetary things. But releasing files, that would be so easy to do. Just release stuff. You don't have to pass legislation. You don't have to increase the spending. You don't need any special interest groups or lobbyists. It's not like we're trying to have vaccines be actually studied. It didn't seem like there would be any special interest groups opposing it. So it seems very strange to people that these Epstein documents are not released. You promised. It would have been so easy to do. And so people are rightly upset. It's like, you lied to us. People don't care that he lied about the wars. He's still keeping the wars going. People don't care. And I think the reason they really care about the Epstein thing is because, this is my opinion, this could be part of it for some people. Everybody remembers being a child when some adult trampled on them and they had no voice. I think it hits home, close to home for some people, especially if you consider that something like 30% of women were sexually abused in their lifetime as children. You think about all the children who had to endure violence or watch their parents be violent to each other, and they were a helpless child and they couldn't do anything. And so people, I think, feel this inner, maybe subconsciously or consciously, this inner anger at adults who violate them. And that's what Epstein did. He violated children. People are not that interested in the Mossad angle, that he was a Mossad agent, a CIA agent. People are okay with the CIA and Mossad and MI6 doing intelligence operations, killing Kennedy back in '63. People have moved on from that. But this whole thing, they're concerned about the children because they themselves once were a child who said, no, stop, and nobody stopped. That's what I think this is really about. And you, Trump, came along and said you would hold these people accountable. And you're not. It would have been so easy to do. And again, it's not about accountability. Look what happened during the housing meltdown in 2008. I was a realtor at the time. And realized that these banks and these hedge funds, they almost took down the entire economy. They made knowingly fraudulent loans, which the ratings agencies knowingly and falsely labeled AAA, the same as treasuries, and no one ever went to jail. Maybe people are still upset about that. Maybe people are still upset that their homes were foreclosed on while these banksters were not held accountable. That could be some of the anger too. Like, you guys keep screwing us over and everyone's getting away with it. And we don't want Epstein to get away with it. And again, it would have been so easy to prosecute the banksters. You didn't have to shut down the banks. You could still have given them all the liquidity. I think people are just afraid of, like, you screwed us over. You lied to us on something that was so emotionally important to us. And again, I think most people remember being a child and saying, no, don't do that. And some adult did it anyway. And you were helpless. And now you can fight back. What do you think? I'm interested in what you think. Why this Epstein thing has resonated so much more, because I don't think it's about accountability. Nobody was upset when the banksters didn't get prosecuted. And I don't think it's about killing, because people are fine with killing the babies in Gaza and the women and children all over. I don't think it's about that. And I don't think it's about saving children, because we kill children all the time. Look what we're doing in Gaza. I don't see people upset about that. Maybe that's because it's so far away, but I just think that there were many children who were once thinking, no, don't do that to me. And now, through Epstein, they can find their voice, be vindicated. And again, it would have been so easy to release the files. You didn't have to make any legislation. You didn't have to increase the budget. You didn't have to get work through any lobbyists. So why don't you care about these children? And then also, social media is so much more active, and people are making their voices heard on social media, like Twitter, for example. And the administration is noticing these social media influencers have taken over from these journalists who would just go along and just spit the propaganda of whatever administration they had. I mean, I think a lot of the media is really just like a CIA propaganda arm, because they just say whatever the administration wants you to say. They don't tell us the things they don't want us to know. Like most Americans think that Russia invaded Ukraine for no reason, because the media never told them that the CIA started operating in Ukraine in 2012 to get rid of the president and install military assets to try to take down Russia. People don't know that. They're not told that. Well, now we have social media, independent journalists, and we have more information. And so when people hear other people say, well, I'm upset about this, they can also chime in, and the politicians notice, because they need public approval to get reelected and to keep us from revolting, because at some point when the empire declines, people do revolt at some point when something personally affects them. Hey, post-workout, I'm super sweaty. What I forgot to say on that video is that there are also men who were abused who can relate to, I really wanted to tell him no, or I did tell him no. Or imagine a little boy who saw his father hitting his mom, and he wanted to tell the dad no, but he had no power and he couldn't, and he had to watch his mom be abused or sister be abused. So there's all that, and that's what I think people emotionally can relate to with the Epstein thing and the person covering it up. And there's a lot of anger that people feel when they tell their parent, this person abused me, my uncle abused me, my stepfather abused me, and the mom does nothing. I've heard people say that not being believed is even worse than having the thing done to them. So I think that many people have experienced this kind of helplessness in their childhood, and so they can really relate to that. The other thing I want to caution people of is idolizing your politician or your priest or your whatever. There are a lot of people who idolize, either I'm a Democrat, Democrats can do no wrong. I'm a Republican, Republicans do no wrong. And they idolize that person, so they're overlooking that person's flaws. And now you're no longer a citizen of a country. You're a cult leader. You're like looking for approval. You're in a one-down position seeking approval. You disempower yourself when you idolize your politicians. You forget that they're supposed to represent us, and they're very skilled at manipulation. Like right now with the Epstein thing, Trump doesn't want to release it, and I don't think he's going to release any of it. So they're throwing out different things. Let's change the name of the football team. Let's release the thing about the Russiagate. Let's release the MLK files. Let's release this and this. And now they're saying, oh, Zelensky has to go. And did you notice As soon as they said Zelensky had to go, the next day there's an uprising in Kyiv, because they're all doing, it's the CIA doing color revolutions. They stage everything. So he's trying to get the attention off of it, and then he personally calls, he throws out the charm. You gotta watch out for charming people. They get you to do stuff that you don't really want to do. They snow you through their charming words. So he calls up, you know, Candace Owens. Candace Owens talked about this on her podcast. Candace, you know, don't talk about Macron, you know. You can really help us out, you know. We're trying to work with him, like that. He calls up the social media influencers and asks them to lay off on the whole Epstein thing. And some of them are doing it. Then you also have the problem of people who have good intentions who get into government, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and they get in there and they flip. You know, it's like something happens. And so you cannot change the swamp. Once you join the swamp, you're in the swamp. Because if you go against it, you won't get invited to the parties, the meetings. You won't get to be part of the inside club. They oust you. And it's very painful to be outed from your tribe. So I think that people have to, so that's the other thing I just want to add to this video, is that men can relate to this too. The sense of power, a powerless child, and that you, in a way, were kind of speaking up for our own childhood where we were not heard, perhaps. And the danger of people just getting snowed by the politicians who are very skilled at changing the subject. And the next news cycle, they know people forget. So remember not to idolize your politician, because a good, powerful country is made of accountable politicians, and our politicians are not accountable. So if we just let them say whatever, then we're just letting them get away with a lot of criminal behavior. And that's what it is. The US, Israel, Britain, the entire NATO, I mean, they are all complicit in child sex trafficking for the purposes of holding, having control over powerful people. So they use children for that. That's right. But I don't think that's what people care about. That's my point. They don't care about the intelligence stuff, and they don't really care about children. This is personal for people. I trusted you. You were, because Trump came across as a fatherly figure, very charming, very understanding, very folksy, and that's why the blue-collar people flocked to him. He came across very fatherly. They trusted him, and now he also betrayed them. It wasn't just their parents. It wasn't just the teachers. It wasn't just the babysitter. You know, now he betrayed them too. So it's personal. And it's an easy thing for him to release. So why aren't you? That's the thing. You promised. It was an easy thing to do, and you didn't do it. You betrayed me. You deceived me. And I think that's what this is about. It's not for the reason that it should be, for prosecuting criminality, because people in this country don't care about criminality, of white-collar criminality. Look at all the wars. No one gives a shit about the Gaza thing, you know? Or all the people we have killed in other countries. They don't care about the starving children and the people who can't get health care. Nobody cares. Okay? So it's not about caring about people. It's personal. That's what I think. That's what I think. But I want to know what you think. I'm going to come back for the comments. Thank you for watching my video.